Yes, hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel that celebrates the fact that there are fans all over this great big planet of the mighty Celtic. From Aberdeen to Azerbaijan, Belfast to Borneo, wherever you happen to be watching from, you're very much part of A Celtic World. And a couple of regular faces joining us tonight. Let's start with Brian for a change and say hello to Brian, who's on the outskirts of Belfast, would you say, or are you positively in the countryside?
Yeah, a bit of both, Gav, just in Banbridge, so it's 20 minutes from everywhere. Yeah, good to see us all. Well, not 20 minutes from Perth, like obviously, you know what my geography's like. But
or the Balkan.
all New York, Paris, Peckham, 20 minutes from Belfast, 20 minutes from Newry, all very exciting places,
Very exciting. None more so exciting than Perth, Western Australia. Paul?
Gav, it's another wonderful day in Australia. It's supposed to be autumn. Still cracking the flags. 25, 26 every day. Ooh, beautiful time of year. Not too hot, pleasant. The locals think it's cold. I had somebody dog sitting today and I came back, the heating was on.
No way.
There's people with big jumpers and jackets on in the street of a morning walking the dogs. It's madness. But yeah, there you go.
Brian is omnipresent, says John Clements. Well, we were just talking before we went on air, weren't we, about the size of our squad, and it's been a little bit trimmed through sort of different circumstances. Work mostly is taking a few people away. But as I said to Brian, I'm more focused on having a tight squad full of quality and not having, a million wingers that, don't get that much game time. But that's kind of relevant, I suppose, to what we're going to be talking about today, which is, this really Aberdeen game, first of all. And then what lessons do we learn from that game for the final? And indeed, what lessons do we learn for the next game against Robinson's crew? What's that was supposed to say? So, tortured on that. And then Celtic socials. As I was writing that earlier, I looked up to see if I had Robinson Crusoe among my list of classic books up above me. And it wasn't there. But what I did see was Gulliver's Travels, Brian. What can you tell us about Gulliver's Travels that is relevant to where we grew up?
Written by Daniel Defoe. Isn't that
right? Jonathan Swift.
Jonathan Swift.
Okay.
There we go. I'll get my coat.
No, but the question remains: what's relevant to where we grew up?
Cave Hill. No. There we go.
Yeah. Jonathan Swift used to live near where we grew up, and he would look up at the Cave Hill and see Napoleon's nose. What looks like the profile of Napoleon, and he imagined it being a huge person. And what if that was like the human size, and we're just all little people crawling all over it? So then his imagination took him to the idea of Gulliver traveling to Lilliput, where everyone was tiny and he was a giant.
I never knew that he was from Belfast, from our neck of the woods.
Well, he lived on the Lansdowne, as far as I know, Lansdowne Road. Yeah.
Every day's a school day.
There you go. Fantastic. It's all free, by the way, on the Celtic World. If you love this kind of chat, you know what to do. Let's say hello to some of the people who love this kind of chat. McLaughlin P is in the house, as always. Who's the snitch? Who is the snitch? What does that come from? Who's the snitch? Is that relevant to something, or it just seems like a funny username? GDoc, who used to be GDoc brackets doc for the avoidance of doubt, but he's left open the door of doubt by removing the parentheses. Chris D. David Clarkson, who was to be joining us, but his family have all come down with a bout of illness, unfortunately, so he may be watching on his phone on the toilet. If so, good luck to you, David.
Get well soon, David.
There's an image for you just around lunchtime at home. Dear, oh dear.
So it's good to see so many familiar faces, as always. As always. That was Google, not me. I think the bracket stuck. But anyway, that's by the by. But no one can accuse us of not paying attention to our viewers. It seems like we know them intimately, doesn't it, Brian?
It does indeed. They're great guys. And a lot going on to Clyde Super Scoreboard, and you've got Who's the Snitch and all the Don't Tell Me, Pork Chop Express and 420 Anywhere. All the boys are always on it and throwing in wee classics. When you've got a Rangers phone in or something, and the boys will throw in champions and then just leave and then come back half an hour later. Fantastic. I was snitched on some time ago. Hence the name, Gav.
Okay. All right. Well, should we crack on with the game then? Oh, well, no, we won't is the answer because I don't have the images up. But you can talk amongst yourselves while we do. Tell us, where did you watch the game, Paul? What were the circumstances?
Well, it was 3 a.m., as you well know. So I watched it on my sofa, having set my alarm for 2:52 a.m., just enough time to drag myself awake, wander through to the living room, log into Celtic TV, and arrive just before kickoff to watch the Mighty Hoops in a dead rubber. I think that's commitment. Yeah, I bet you didn't watch it live. So yeah, that's how I watched the game.
No, I watched it this morning, just after my son's early school run. Well, I watched some of it then anyway. So, let's get on with it, shall we? I really haven't done a lot of preparatory stuff at all here. That's very poor show. Right. This was the first thing that happened, and it would be foreboding. This is Donington on Yang, for which he gets a yellow right at the start of the game, Paul. This incident, and then generally they were a little bit snippy, weren't they?
They were. This is, I think it's Dorrington. But yeah, he got his comeuppance eventually. But yeah, this is pretty cynical. Yang was away. Lively start by him. And this was just one of many times he was horsed up in the air, for want of a better phrase. And yeah, nice to see the ref stamp down on it early. Although, as you alluded to, there was a few not too soon after, or not too long after rather, that kind of got let away. The guy Jensen had another nibble at him, at Yang, shortly thereafter, and not quite as harsh as this, but it was still a solid yellow, I thought, and just got allowed to walk away from that one. But yeah, that was kind of the start of things to come. Quite a few of their players throwing their weight around, which, as we know, had pretty potentially bad consequences for Rio Hatate late in the game.
Well, sticking with Yang, Brian, he was very lively, especially at the early stages of the game. Do you think he could have done better with moments like this? Yang headed from a Ralston cross.
He's just back, isn't he? He was out with a broken arm, or a broken elbow, or his arm was in a sling anyway, but he's just a wee bit rusty on it. But another day that goes in.
Yeah, he kind of got under this one. Didn't really make much of a fist of it, but you could argue that it was just a little bit too high for him or something on this instance. Well, this is the first incident involving Papa Gay.
Yeah.
The humorously named Papa Gay. He sort of, I'm not sure what he was at here.
Animal.
Or absolutely. Here he had a wee snip. He had a wee snip, didn't he, at McGregor, who kind of pointed at him as if to say, "You watch yourself, son." But he was at it all game, really.
Like agricultural football. Yeah.
Yeah. This was Yang cutting it back for Forrest. We all thought this was going to be Forrest's moment, Paul. Did you you watched it on Celtic TV, you said? So you had our friend, what's that guy on comms?
With Jerry McCulloch talking nonsense. He spent the most of the first half telling us that Aberdeen were in third place and Hibs were breathing down their neck, which took me by surprise to the point where I had to go and actually check. I was not misbelieving what was going on. So yeah, he was up to his usual high standards. He said at one point when there was some chat between him and Simon Donnelly, who Simon Donnelly was very good actually, but some chat about if there was a penalty, would Jamesy Forrest get to take it? And he piped up and said, maybe this isn't the place to get a penalty. Only 3 penalties all season, all been missed. One missed by an Aberdeen player who I think he knew who it was. And then he went, 2 missed by away players. It completely escapes me who they were. Thanks very much for the insight, Jerry. Great stuff.
Most people, Paul, to be fair, would have watched it on Sky Sports Football with Sutton and Ian Crocker. They were given the choice. I would always go with Sutton on commentary. But Crocker came out with some bullshit, about he started going off on a tangent about Rangers, and that was their first penalty, or they only had 2 penalties this season. I'm just thinking to myself, know your audience. No one gives a fiddlers really what they're doing. But there we go.
Well, if we're watching Sky Sports down here, it means you've got a slightly naughty feed. So yeah, I pays my money to the club and watch it on.
I would pay, but
you guys don't get to see it. No, I know.
No, let him finish the sentence. I would pay, but
you can't. If you live,
they don't get the games locally. You only get radio commentary.
You can't get, like, if I wanted to watch, if I would pay money, £100 or £1,000 a year, whatever it is, to get Celtic TV, but it's not eligible in the UK and Ireland. You cannot get it to watch the games. So therefore, I have to try and go down the RBTV route or whatever else is available.
Yeah. So this was the moment then we hope that Jamesy might score.
It's not Jamesy though, is it? It's Paulo Bernardo.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus, I'm doing it.
And he blazes it over the bar, does he not? He's just a bit high and gets it a bit over the bar.
I thought it was Jamesy. Okay. Cal McDikenny on 23 minutes, and a bit of a poor first touch here. Paul lets him down, gives the defender an opportunity.
Yeah, well, the touches around the edge of the box in the first sort of half hour, 35 minutes was a bit of a recurring theme. I think he kind of has a poor touch here. Carl had one where he was desperate to have an extra touch or two. McCowan as well, like players just it's cut and schloop. Like I think there's 3 or 4 different occasions where players sort of a lot on that side of the pitch had the opportunity to hit it on their weaker side and were desperate to try and shift it back onto the stronger side, and then nearly every occasion got squeezed out or up a blind alley or lost possession. So yeah, we just weren't quite, the build-up play was good, but the final touches in and around the box were just a little bit off. As was obviously the build-up play by Young earlier was great, but then Bernardo sort of snatches at the shot, and that was kind of a bit of a recurrent theme, especially in the first half. There was a couple of chances missed second half as well. But yeah, we'll probably touch on Kenny in more detail later, so I won't really. I'll keep my powder dry on him for now. But yeah, he had a bit of a frustrating first half.
Well, we've already mentioned. God, I've forgotten his name again. The commentator, who's quite annoying. Jerry McCullough.
McCullough. Sorry.
Did you hear him talking about the long shadows and then he sort of, it's the kind of weather, the kind of day you'd come home from school and you'd go straight out with your mates. He's just inventing the kind of childhood he wished he had, where he had mates to play football with until the sun went down. So I was thinking about that. I was thinking,
I did remind me of my childhood, so that bit I quite enjoyed that a little bit. But
we've all got better social skills than Jerry McCullough, I would have thought.
Apparently, he's a nice bloke. I don't like.
I'm only pulling his leg.
He's just not.
But another high point of his moment when he talked about this coming together, which is unfortunate to use when one of the guys is called gay, but there was a coming together, which resulted in Trusty walking away spitting. Brian.
Never a good time if somebody. Actually, we could probably get struck off YouTube here. Yeah, your man. He should have been. I mean, if this was in the Premier League in England, this guy would have been off. You know, some of the
Yeah,
challenges.
but not for this. Not for this. This was Trusty sort of flooring him.
But
Mind this.
As Arsene Wenger once said, Paul, can you help me out here? I didn't see this.
Yeah, he just blocked him off, didn't he? It was just he just stood his ground and checked, body checked him.
Yes,
Is that the weak
that's what happened.
Clarkson behind us? No. Lee
Don't know who
Clarkson,
that
the
is.
wee guy from Liverpool.
I think
Late.
that's maybe the Scandi guy. Anyway, there's Trusty spitting. We'll move on from that swiftly. Yang must score with this header, Paul. Come on. This was right on his head. And he just tamely directs it towards the goalkeeper. Disappointing.
Not really a strong suit, is it? The old heading. But yeah, I was not going to be too harsh on him. Not going to be too harsh on Yang. I thought he had a good game. Probably most people would say better first half, but he had some good runs second half, including for Kenny's goal.
Yeah, he certainly did. Jamesy's moment, Mark 1, just pulled this one wide, unfortunately. Keeper was relieved to see it trundling down the side of the post. What a game Jamesy had, though.
He
Yeah.
did. This was
Regardless of his goal, he played magnificently. Lack of goal.
Yeah, I'd say easily man of the match.
Yeah.
That was probably that was the chance of the lot, I would say. You know, late on, we're willing him to get on the end of something, but obviously he was typically at the outside of the moves and starting them. But that was a reasonably good chance. He'll be pretty disappointed. He sort of slaffed that and pulled it wide. And
the unlikely source of the goal, Brian, came from the big defender whose name you're going to pronounce flawlessly.
Navrotsky.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, great to see the big fella. Great to see him score and another person who has a bit of an aerial threat. I thought he was fantastic last night. I thought 8, 9 out of 10 I would have given. I thought he had a great game. He was doing a bit of shouting as well, I noticed, which is always good. I would love to keep him. I think, could there be a place where we're with a lot of defenders at the minute, and Stephen Welsh and Dean Murray and stuff like that. But I would keep hold of him. I think he's got something to offer.
I'm not sure Rodgers agrees with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, he clearly doesn't, and this is the thing. So I think Mike Nawrocki had a good game again last night, and he's had some good games when he's filled in recently. I think, and I've chatted about this with a couple of people, including my brother, who's a coach. You don't get left out for as long as he has been if there isn't a fatal flaw in your game, and I think it must be pace. We've spoken about this before. If the game's in front of him, which most domestic games are going to be, he's not going to get troubled. There's nobody going to run in behind him. We're going to have the whole play in front of him. He's absolutely fine at that. His passing's actually really good. He's one of the better centre-backs for passing. We've spoken about. I played another belter straight through right up the middle of the pitch, threaded through the iron needle first half. 30-40 yard pass, absolute class. And his passing is very good. But just because you're going to get through 80-90% of domestic games untroubled, if you're not going to be able to cope with pace in behind when we step up to maybe Rangers when they finally put a challenge together, but absolutely in Europe, then you can't really persist with them. And I think that's why he's only seen very limited game time. I think you can't, in the modern game, I don't think you can be a centre-back, or certainly not a full-back. I don't think you can be a centre-back if you lack pace, or certainly not at the absolute top table. And I think that's his issue. We saw the Aberdeen striker who went to Spain. His name escapes me, but Miovski, yeah. We saw him absolutely tear away from him at Pittodrie last year, and he scored. And that was an occasion where he was slow to turn, he was slow to get back, and he was a quick player, but he was by no means lightning and the fastest you'll see in the game. So I think, unfortunately, that's the fatal flaw for the absolute top table, and he's probably not going to make the cut. If Rodgers thought you can coach loads of things, you can't coach pace. If Rodgers thought he had a chance, he would have seen way more minutes, and I just think he's done. So I think he's only 24. He'll find maybe a part of some European leagues where
the Italian league makes him better because
maybe, but so that there might be an opportunity. There should, he's a player, right? He's got this far, but we haven't replaced the pace since Starfelt went, and we, as far as I'm concerned, we need to be shopping for another centre back, because we'll get on to Trusty in a bit, but him and Scales are both too hit and miss, and I don't think either of them are the long-term answer. So unfortunately, the centre back can stay on the shopping list for I don't know how many.
There was a moment in the game where possession was turned over quite quickly, and he had to track back, and he did look like he was struggling to get back. I noticed yesterday, but I didn't want to put it just down to that one moment. But yeah, he's a decent enough player, but I don't think he's for Brendan, as you say, for all the reasons you point out. All right, Brendan, what about Nisbet?
It's just the goal, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, there's
showing Yang how to head it.
Yeah, and Schlupp mustn't like jumping. I don't know. I thought Schlupp had a poor game last night. I don't think he's a left back. He doesn't like. He's not physical for me. He sort of look at that. White men can't jump. A good goal, as Paddy McLaughlin says, Schlupp shrinks when he jumps. He just, I don't know. I don't know what's happened to him. I hope we don't. I would rather, when you see the young, who was the young fella that come on last night? Young blonde-haired guy.
Sean McArdle.
I would rather promote McArdle than have the likes of Schlupp hanging around picking up 40 grand a week or whatever it is.
It's a valid point, but they don't play in the same position.
I know they don't play in the same, but I mean, Schlupp's left-sided.
I take where you're going. I don't think Schlupp's staying. Whether Taylor stays or not, I don't think Schlupp's staying. He didn't have. You're right. He didn't have a great game last night. He looked to me like a player who's going through the motions. And yeah, this John Clement sums it up here. Free move, some are playing safe. Absolutely, didn't really look like that interested. Didn't really put himself, out there too much. He was poor at this, and his jump is terrible. But I'm not going to hang all the blame on him. I'm going to hang the majority of the blame on Trusty here. Trusty's a centre back, Nisbet's a striker. He's his man. Instead of going with his man and marking his man and heading and covering the space where he should be, he's 6'4" or 5" or whatever he is. That meat and drink, it's just a little dinked up ball. That's meat and drink for a centre back. You can say what you like about Scales, but I'm pretty sure Scales would have been that and handed it away. Trusty's ball watching. He gets sucked to. Is it Papagay at the front that flicks it up in the air?
Papagay flicked it over Navrojki, who sort of stood off him as well.
Yeah, so
he was blameless.
Well, no, he wasn't. But it's sort of it's deflected off Ralston as Ralston's tried to close the cross down. So it shouldn't have necessarily been dropping to Gay. So yeah, Navrojki's sitting off him. But that's fine. It wasn't expected to land there. He's knocked it up in the air. Nisbet is 100% Trusty's man. He's drifted off Trusty and he's ended up at Schlupp. And he's got the run on Schlupp, so obviously he gets above him. Trusty actually takes 2 steps towards Papagay as the ball is coming across from Ralston. He's got no business moving in that direction. That's Navrojki's man. It's his to deal with. He's caught in absolute no man's land when he does that. And then he's completely lost Nisbet. And Nisbet's got a free header because Schlupp is trying to cover round, but he's not his man. Like that's not the guy he's supposed to be picking up. So yeah, pretty terrible defending as usual. When you lose a goal, it's the unit that loses it. But for me, Trusty most culpable and Schlupp secondary, but neither covered themselves in glory.
Navrojki tertiary, if you ask me. Both of our central defenders were kind of in no man's land when that little flick pass was executed. Anyway, didn't last too long before we came back into it then with Yang finally getting on the end of something, Brian.
Yeah, there was a bit of a disruption, wasn't there? There was one of the fans wasn't
just proud of their goal.
prior to their goal, so that sort of took a bit of momentum off us. But it was good to see Yang. Yeah, good to see him score. I'm very fond of Yang. I think he's a great player. He seems an honest kind of guy, and Rodgers likes him. So I would be definitely happy for him to play his part now with Jota being injured, and then potentially Rio. They're definitely, in terms of the final, there will be an opportunity for him.
Look at 420 there, infantilizing Yang, who's 6 foot or something.
No,
why
he's
does
5'8",
everyone talk about him like he's a wee guy?
but he's
I
not.
know everyone does that. Rodgers does that too.
But he's not 6 foot. I remember coming on here and saying 6 foot. He was 6 foot, and people were laughing at me. Is he
What
not
is
5'8"? He's quite
Rodgers,
small.
Paul's checking. He's not that wee. It's bigger than you'd think. I think. Paul's about to tell us.
I still finding it, mate. I'll come to you in a minute.
Okay. I think he's bigger than...
I think he's closer to 6 feet than 5'8", but we'll double check.
All right, so that concludes the first half then. Did anyone, Brian, do you know what happened with that incident? What was the incident in the crowd?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know, it was a heart attack, but the guy, he couldn't move. 5'9". I think he had...
Clement says 5'11".
Well, I've got him 176. 176 centimeters, which is 5'9".
He's a wee guy because he's much younger than 420, and 420 is 6 foot. Okay, what's the definition of a wee guy?
I would say
not a wee guy in your book, Paul, is he?
Sub 5'9" would be a wee guy.
No, he's a well-statured guy in my book.
Brian just said sub 5'9" would be a wee guy.
All right, easy.
Sub 6 would be wee, wouldn't it? Sub 6 foot, Gav.
You can't have this conversation when Paul's on the panel. He doesn't like it.
I've got no issues.
Paul, as somebody says, you're you're tall when you stand on your wallet.
Exactly.
There we go. 48.
So, one thing we didn't mention about that Yang goal was that it came after like a very penetrative run by Jamesy, and here he is on another one. Cuts this ball back.
He had Shinny on toast last night.
48 minutes.
Yeah. Shinny wanted to retire from him.
Yeah.
Things after that performance.
There's McCowan getting the goal. That was nice to see, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah, it was good to see. Yeah, and he took his time with it. He didn't just. He composed himself, took an extra touch, and it was good to see it going in. I love McCann, and he got a bit of roughhousery last night. I don't know if that's the terminology, but he got a few boots at him. He got kicked about the place.
That guy Donington again, was that it?
Yeah, Hallion. So I don't know. He's on loan from Spurs, your man Donington, isn't he?
That's what they said.
Dorrington.
Donington. There we go. 28 minutes.
Dorrington. Double R.
Okay.
Donington. Sure.
Well, you're such a stickler for pronunciation, Gav. I think we can get
you'll never hear from him again anyway, so don't worry about it. He'll go back and he'll be playing for Milton Keynes Dons next.
We'll see him in the final, I would imagine.
52 minutes, Jamesy's moment, Mark 2. Not quite. What happened here? And did this one just go wide, or did the keeper get to it? Can't remember. 52 minutes.
I think the keeper just gets a block on it, I think.
Their keeper played well last night, believe it or not, for letting in 5 goals. He did really well. Could have been 10.
That's what we always say about the keepers after they've played us, because they've been so active. They've pulled out a few stops.
He got a bit. I got a bit unlucky, like on the Yang goal, and I think it was on the Ida goal as well. Like he gets a save, and then it deflects off another player, and then stays in the danger area. And in both cases, they knock it into the net. I think he saves it, and I think it hits that Jensen guy in the first time, and then Yang turns it in, and then he saves it on the Ida chance as well, and
which we'll get to.
Defender. And comes clear. So yeah, I think the goalkeeper had a decent game, but he was a bit unlucky for a couple of goals.
Well, for many people, the moment of the game, and one that seemed to steal the headlines and be the most commonly used picture, was of a smiling Johnny Kenny after he got his head to this one. How pleasing was that, Brian?
Delighted for him. I watched Johnny Kenny when he was on loan at Shamrock Rovers. I was down for a game last season in Dublin, and he looked way better than anything else on the park. And I'm just hoping that we'll maybe we'll keep him about the place and develop him, because Brendan loves developing players. He obviously doesn't have the initial touch, but I can imagine his legs were like jelly last night coming on for the first 10-15 minutes. I know I would have been. But he's only 24, so or is he? Is he younger than that? Well, he's probably 19, but no, he's running around his early 20s. Like, so.
Well, yes, according to Jerry McCullough, I remembered his name this time, he's a little bit younger than Arnie Engels. Because he said he's not that young. He's only a little bit younger than Arnie Engels, but everyone goes on about Engels being young, so I don't know what his problem was with that.
21.
They're both
21.
they're both 21. I think Engels might have just turned 22 actually. So yeah, Johnny Kenny will be 22 next month.
Right, so he's a little bit younger. So he was right about that. But he was talking as if everyone...
I mean, what height is he? He's about 5'9".
Oh, come on. Let's leave heights behind us.
There he is. There's James. He's about 5'7".
I'm not going to check everyone's height, but he was very happy with his goal. Obviously, meant the world to him. Smashing teeth. Look how happy he's there. And he's being congratulated by...
I love the way James, he congratulated everybody that scored. You know, he was so happy for Johnny Kenny, and then when he did another couple of assists, but he was over celebrating like it was his goal. But he looks a bit like your man, like German striker, doesn't he? What do you call him? He's
just retired from Bayern.
Just retired. Thomas Muller, is that him?
Yeah, well, he does in that picture.
In that picture, like.
Yeah.
He's 6'2" for those following along at home.
Johnny Kenny is.
He is 6'2", yeah. Everyone's
height.
Is this a good opportunity for me to give my thoughts on Kenny's performance or how we utilise Kenny? Can I do that? Are you happy for us to go down that?
Yeah, let's talk about Kenny. Go on.
Yeah, great to see him get a goal first and foremost. Like that, the first one is always, a monkey off the back, so he'll be delighted he's got that. He's clearly favoured by Rodgers. He's been brought into the squad. He's been trusted when he didn't replace Kyogo. Obviously, Maeda's really stepped up, but Kenny's obviously been trusted as a sort of third striker and is now getting a bit of game time. I thought we didn't really service him very well, especially first half. And this has been a recurring theme, and I've talked about this a lot in terms of we didn't really play to Kyogo's strengths, Adamida's strengths, and now Kenny is, he was on the periphery of a lot of things, especially first half. And I think if you're playing through the middle on your own, if your touch isn't perfect, it shows itself up more than necessarily than in some other positions, because you're asked to be playing with your back to goal, bring other players into play, knock it off, and get back into space. When for his goal, McCowan gets the byline and plays a ball in early and allows him to attack the space, and he gets a great finish on it. I just think we're maybe not playing to a central striker's best strengths. We haven't done it for Ida, and he's still got 20 goals, mostly off the bench, which is a pretty good return. And we didn't really do it much for him. There was a lovely move in the first half where he did drop deep. He took a touch, he switched it out, and he span in behind, and he didn't get, the cross didn't quite come in, but Jamesy was trying to get it into his area. And there's little pockets of quality play that I think there probably is a player there, and I guess that's what Rodgers has seen in training, and will he may persist with him and why he's still around. If he's going to be the third striker for next season, I would suggest that Maeda is going to switch back to the wing, if that's going to happen. If he's still around, he's not gone for a huge fee. because I can't see a situation where we don't buy another central striker. We're one light since Kyogo went. Yes, Maeda does an amazing job. But if Maeda does stay and we plan to make him the main striker, and therefore we've still got 3, maybe we don't sign one, but you probably need to sign 2 or 3 wingers. So you're a million wingers comment, Gav. Like if you lose Maeda from the wing, you need to replace that. Jota's injured, you need to replace him. James is coming towards the end of time. You know, we're probably 2 or 3 wingers short at this point. And Kuhn could be off as well. You know, he's 26, 27. You know, he's peak time. So that I think there'll be a fair amount of turnover in the squad this summer.
Definitely. Gay tugs at Schloop, Brian.
You happy for me to comment
like,
on that?
Between coming in,
this tackle. Who's this guy?
This is on McCann.
McCann.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy's name is.
Get the guy's name Morrison. I think it might have been. I'm not too sure, but
that was nasty though.
Mackenzie
Morrison, same thing. No, he was lucky to stay on the pitch. I thought that if that was in the EPL, that was straight red. I really thought they'd get the face on him. You know, just agricultural
football. Is that taken into consideration by VAR, do you think? Look at the face on him.
No.
Is that display intent?
It does indeed. They're just trying to take a couple of our players out. That would have been Jimmy when went down to 3-1. Jimmy Thielen or whatever his name is, the manager, would have said, "Right, take a few of these boys out here," you know. And obviously, he tried to do that with McCann, who I'm worried about because he sat down for a bit. And McCann's usually back up and on his feet, but he sat down for a bit, and you know, but. Just again, horrible football from Aberdeen. They had a chance to do something, but just decided to kick all round them.
Yeah, we sort of talked about Nawrocki for a bit earlier. Here's an interesting username, Elephantitis of the Nuts, listing a bunch of his chums, I think, that he sees in the chat. Assuming that Elephantitis of the Nuts is a he. I would imagine it is. It's fair guess. Talking about Jimmy Thielen sending people out to, you know, put themselves about. This was the incident of Ida going through Paul. Second yellow.
Yeah. It's hard to see the contact, but I think there must have been. And at that pace, it's a great ball through them. I think it's Paulo Bernardo that slides it through the eye of Ido between the 2 defenders. And Ida's in. I think the only thing that stops it being a straight red is obviously the guys right next to him, but Ida's got the run on him and would be through on goal. I think obviously running at pace, I think Dorrington's just had a little nibble, a little nick, and it's been enough to put him over. And yeah, a bit of comeuppance for him because he was a bit naughty, and as Brian alluded to earlier, he left one on McCowan first early in the second half. He sort of left his arm up, but it basically hit him in the throat, and he took a fair amount of time to come round from that and a bit of treatment. And when McCowan did recover, the camera caught him sort of pointing at him, and then the camera caught Dorrington sort of laughing in his face. So he kind of knew what he was up to, even though he get pulled for that. And so yeah, he gets his comeuppance. He rode his, you get booked in the second minute, you're going to ride your luck, and he got his marching orders in the end, which was just desserts.
Just desserts. Ida didn't get his just desserts here. This was a McCardle. This was the first kind of moment of his McCardle to Hatate to Ida. Brought a good save out of the goalkeeper.
He's offside. He's offside though, right? Like he would be, like if this goes in, I'm pretty sure he'd be flagged. Well, VAR would, if he hadn't flagged offside in the game, he would have been pulled by VAR. I think he was just half a yard.
This is Gay going right through Rio. Is that the next incident that occurred?
Yeah.
88 minutes.
But wasn't there somebody that tackled Rio prior to that? Like split second before, and then your man weighed in after?
Yeah, apparently the whistle had gone.
Aye.
And then he goes right through Rio.
I think it might have been
called up for a foul or anything, was he?
I think the thing is the ball's there, right? But he's sort of hoofed at the ball and just cleaned out the player at the same time, and he's sort of hit his leg and twisted his knee in it. So it does probably look like I don't think we've heard anything yet. It does look a bit like a ligament injury. So rather than I think McCown was down for a long time, but it was pretty obvious it was an impact injury, like studs on shin, which is a sore one, but a bit of bruising and you recover from that relatively quickly. And obviously he was able to finish the game. But yeah, I think this one looked a bad one. He looked in pain straight away, and then obviously went straight off, and obviously no point risking it at that point. And then he was ice packed and limping. I think in classic Celtic TV such sort of coverage, it was as soon as the final whistle went, it was whipped off. But from what I can gather on TV channels that actually showed the celebrations, he was straight down the tunnel and didn't take part in the celebrations. So he obviously needed a decent amount of treatment, and it's a long trek back down the road.
The only positive thing you could say about that is potential suitors may be reluctant if he's carrying an injury. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should make too much of a big deal out of that incident, really. I don't feel too aggrieved. I feel bad that Hatate got injured, but what do you expect them to just stand off our players?
Yeah, no, but when you see Brendan's never really animated. It was the first time I'd seen him animated.
He was absolutely fuming. He went tonto. He had to be separated from the fourth official. He was after the ref as well. So I don't think you could tell in the coverage, but I think the whistle must have gone for the first one, and then he's gone right through him after the whistle's gone, and he's absolutely at that point. It doesn't matter whether he takes the ball and the man. If the game's stopped, he's got no business throwing his feet around. So
apparently the fourth official wouldn't move out of the way so Rio could get treatment. Was another thing.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He was blocking up space and not allowing them to get in and not allowing him to get off the pitch. He had weak eye syndrome. I think that fourth official throwing his weight around.
Unlike Brendan. Okay, so here's McArdle got a shot in. He was really exciting to watch, wasn't he, McArdle? I mean, I don't know anything about this guy. First I'd really seen him. He came on recently, didn't he? He had a few minutes.
Yeah, he came on at the weekend. He came on at the weekend.
Which I didn't really see, but he looked really interesting. He'd have tapped it home at the end of this incident, so that was nice to see. And this is another McArdle moment that I wanted to talk about, and I've said that this is McArdle's Hatate-esque touch forward. And if he reminds me of like one of the first team players, or he looks like he's kind of modeling his game on someone, it's a bit Rio Hatate. So looking for the early forward pass and stuff. He's lively as anything, isn't he? Exciting to see that.
Yeah, natural left-footed. Didn't waste a pass. Played with his head up. Played on the turn. Good feet. Looks technically really, really good. Pretty good physique for a 17-year-old kid as well. Tall, bit gangly, but not. He doesn't look like one of these kids that sort of tumbled straight out of school and is miles out of his depth. Like, not dissimilar physique to Matt O'Reilly when he first turned up, and he was 20, 21. So it's really easy to get carried away when you see a young player make not his debut because he's made a debut on the weekend, but he absolutely didn't look out of place. A couple of really nice touches. That one round the corner for Kuhn ultimately ends up with Ida's goal. It's absolute class. Yeah. Really, really good. And yeah, he's always on the move. He's always looking for play. It's a good comparison to Hatate because he plays like he buzzing around like Hatate, asking for the ball. Nice feet. And as I said, didn't waste a pass and didn't look out of place. Now, obviously, we were 4-1 up when he comes on and we're kind of cruising and they're kind of done. But I thought he was absolutely class. And yeah, it's hard not to get you don't want to get too carried away. There's a long, long way to go. But with Hatate injured, I'd be starting him on the weekend. I'd start him against St Mirren. Why not? Like, if these kids are going to stay, look how many kids have walked out the door, and ultimately, probably, the ones that have gone we might not have made it. But look, like, I think Ben Doak, was badly advised. At 16, we gave him a debut. He could have been playing serious minutes at 16, 17, 18, instead of going and playing in Liverpool's reserves. Yeah, I'm sure he got paid a shit ton of money, but he went and played in Liverpool's youth team and eventually had to go to Borough. And yeah, he's done okay there and he's been capped and stuff. But I think a player like that in the wide areas would have got more game time at Celtic from a younger age if he'd just been patient. So I hope, like, McCarroll's clearly doing things right. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been getting this opportunity. Because everything, you need to be good on the training pitch, but your attitude needs to be right. You need to have your head screwed on to even get 2 games in a row at this level. So yeah, I hope his head doesn't get turned by the big cash that will come from down south at some point, maybe soon. And I hope that we are willing to commit to actually giving him minutes and developing him. Because if we're talking about, and I'm on record as being a fan of Lennon Miller. If we think we're going to sign Lennon Miller at 18 and put him in the team and give him minutes from the bench and all that, why wouldn't we do one of our own at 17?
Yeah. And
maybe save ourselves 5 or 6 million quid into the bargain. I don't know. I'm a big believer if they're good enough, they're young enough, or they're good enough, they're old enough. So yeah, the thing about, I saw somebody mention Karamoko Dembele. There was always issues with his mentality, and that was one of the reasons he didn't get as much game time as people expected. He was a super talent, super young, but really small. Physique was against him, and he had attitudinal problems, and that's probably why he hasn't kicked on to the level that he could have.
He's in Iceland now, isn't he?
Not sure where he is.
Tesco. He's working in Tesco now. So,
yeah, he was on loan at Blackpool from. Was he at French? Was it at French side?
He was at Brest.
Yeah, he was at Brest, and then he was on loan to Blackpool. I don't know what happened after that. Blackpool fans raved about him and wanted to give him. But like, if that's
Blackburn, did he?
Blackpool. They wanted to keep him and didn't think they'd be able to afford him. I don't know where he rocked up after that. He's kind of disappeared off my radar. But if Blackpool fans are raving about him, that it's kind of not really the level you expected Karamoko Dembele to make it at. So yeah, I saw somebody say hopefully he's got sensible parents. Let's hope so. Keep his feet on the ground. I think Rodgers will give him opportunities if he's good enough. But yeah, the cameo last night was fantastic.
I mean, all he has to look at is his parents have to look at the likes of Liam Scales and what Rodgers has done for Scales. I mean, Rodgers is a fantastic coach, so he can get the young fella maybe look at KT. He could be the next big. I love seeing our own coming through. You know what I mean? I love to see our own players on.
But you also love seeing us going out and buying excellent players in the transfer windows and them taking up all the berths.
I used to be like that. I used to be like that. I used to, there's Di Canio and Van Hooydonk and Cadetti and all these boys. I would rather us. This is my. I know, laugh. I would rather us keep Johnny Kenny, right, and buy Ronan Hale from Ross County. And the money that we would save potentially on them, put that money into a quality, big, massive German centre half, big bruiser, something along the lines of your guy used to play for Chelsea, plays for Real Madrid. Now, big, Christ, my memory. But, instead of, get a Rolls Royce in beside CCV. And then you could even like CCV could be pushed forward a wee bit. But we should have enough in the tank to win the league. But is Johnny
All
Kenny
right.
going to give you it in Europe? Probably not.
Here's a tweet from our friend Ken, which obviously I'm going to direct towards Paul because it's red meat to Paul. Absolutely wild stat. Luke McCowan has now scored 7 goals to Engels 2 from open play. They play the same position. Engels has played 2,000 minutes more of football. Mind blowing, no matter how you look at it. Ken. And I yield the floor to my honourable friend Paul for his rebuttal.
It's not necessarily a rebuttal. It's just Ken is one of the anti-Engels bandwagoners, and that's been clearly shown on social media. So he's not exactly coming out from an impartial point of view. I rate Luke McCowan. Well, you know what they say, this stats and damn lies, is it? Something like that. McCowan, I think McCowan's been a good signing, but he drifted in and out of the game first half. His set piece was great. Obviously, he had 2 assists. He was better second half and a goal. Yeah. And I don't think anyone would say he was the best player on the park. So I like Luke McCowan. Is he in the same sort of ballpark as Arnie Engels? Not a chance. They're different players. McCowan is a kind of crafty, tricky type of player who will be the player that's the last player to pass the ball into somebody that scores or maybe scores himself. Engels is sort of one step removed from that. He's an up and down midfielder. He's an athlete. He'll spray passes. His set pieces are probably even better than McCowan's. And there's about 6 years of difference in their development as well. So it's not an equal comparison. The guys are commenting just what I'm saying. I don't know why we try and. I don't know why, as a fan base, we want to drag our own players down and
exactly.
Tear them down.
I mean, it's our asset. It's our asset.
So McCowan at £1 million has been great value for money, and he's a good squad player, and he's absolutely the type of player that can contribute over the course of 60 games a season. Arnie Engels has got a massive ceiling in terms of where he can go in the game, and he's had one season at playing 50, 60 games a year, and with the expectation that you need to win every single one of them. He has never had to deal with that in his career. At the same time, he's been picked as he's been capped by Belgium, and he's only going to go from strength to strength. I say enjoy him next year because there's a good chance he might not be with us the season after that.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, as we edge up to 100 people watching us live, that's always a good number to reach and breach. If you haven't already, please pay attention to this short message.
Pay attention. This is totally free and great crack. The least you can do is subscribe. Do it now. Cheers.
There you go. It's only our second season as we edge toward 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Not 50,000 like some Celtic channels, just a mere 2. But that shows that if you were to click subscribe right now, it would mean a lot to us. It would make a difference. It's the widow's penny. Isn't that what they call it? Oh, it's not the term? Yes. Means a lot more because we don't have that much.
It sounds quite old-fashioned, so maybe you and Brian closer to that than me.
Alrighty then. Well, I haven't seen 420 itching for a song yet today. I thought maybe we could pull another one out of the archives.
Oh, please, Chris Boyd one, please.
No, we make the Roshki, surely, because he scored for his first goal.
It's got to be relevant. Well, actually, it's for wee Jamesy because he had such a great game.
Did a song for Jamesy last night? Did you hear that?
What was the song?
I don't know what the song is, but I was trying to work it out. But he's never had a song before, and they were singing a song for him last night.
Well, he's had a song here for several months to the tune of Depeche Mode's "Enjoy the Silence." This is wee Jamesy Forrest.
I don't think I'd heard that one before.
And look at you.
Since Jacinta's gone, he's got the roundest bum. Come on.
Yeah.
I hope you don't remember that, Jim.
Okay. There's that many fantastic tunes. I still love The House of Huns. It's just unreal, and every day Scalp Huns Day.
Yeah. You see, sometimes I think the lyrics get lost, the pure quality of the lyrics. So I have to spell it out for people so they can, really appreciate the genius that goes into
Amazed
the
me,
Celtic
Gav, when you were
character.
looking at Jamesy at the start, and he had spots and terrible teeth, and now he still looks
That's
about
right.
20.
His teeth are good. His teeth are definitely good. Big Dez's dogs are howling, as always, whenever that happens. So, any new people watching for the first time, if they've seen that quality of Celtic karaoke, there's only one thing
Gav,
to
is
do.
that the new Celtic away kit you're wearing, or what's going on there?
Oh, no, this is just a top that happens to have green and white stripes on it, like a Hawaiian shirty type thing.
I'd say they
Green
were
and white
hoops.
stripes.
They're hoops, not the
Yeah,
stripes.
green and white hoops. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's just a little nod to the Celtic, but it's my usual dry fit thing that you wear to cope with the sweat. Oh, elephantitis. Asking if I've finished. I think that's what he's saying. Sound off. Is
Head
he
off.
finished?
Headphones
How
off.
dare you? And I'm pretty sure it's elephantiasis, but anyway, never mind. What about Celtic socials? We have a wee look at. This is a good one. I enjoyed this. This is highlights
This is
from
horrific.
Tynecastle. Did you see this?
Did see this. This is horrible.
Oh, dirty git. Trump. Oh,
Scratching his hole at the
dirty
game and
bastard.
having a wee sniff. And look,
That's
there's-
enough. We don't need to see it anymore, Gav. That's
way. How's that Celtic socials? That's fucking them.
That's
Look at
plenty.
I hate
Gav,
that.
get rid of it.
Turn off. Dirty. Oh no. Jesus.
That's horrific.
Smell-o-vision. Look at you touching your nose there, Paul. Subconsciously.
I know, like it. Terrible.
I take your mind. Do you remember the big German manager, and he was like scratching under his armpit, and then he went. What was it? What was his
Someone was
name?
picking their nose a lot. I remember some manager picking the nose.
It was Joshua Malone, and he was in his pants, and he was up his nose, he was in his pants. He's a terrible character as well.
That is pretty disgusting. It's got to be said. Porn in some countries.
No, thank you.
Yeah, so that was the only other bit of Celtic socials I had, I think. Yeah, that just about does it for today's show as we come up to the hour. Oh, there's some terrible comments coming in. I don't want to put those up. Make you feel sick.
Well, you're the one that showed it about 5 times. We don't need to see that.
Oh yeah, the thoughts to the McGinn family as well.
Yes.
And there was another Celtic author who passed a couple of weeks ago, Tom Campbell, who did a lot of work with Pat Woods, The Glory and the Dream. So another fallen comrade.
I think it's the anniversary of both Tommy Burns and Bobby Murdoch passing today as well.
Yeah.
Like brief candle. Life is very short. Got to enjoy it while we're here.
Exactly.
All right. And here's Alpha just reminding us of an advert from our youth. Finger of fudge is just enough to give your kids a treat.
Think about that ad, Gav, right?
There's the vocals. There's the vocals with no auto-tune.
I didn't, as a kid, I thought they said it's full of peppery goodness. I didn't realize it was Cadbury goodness. And I was going, how can it be fudge if it's peppery? When you hear these things, there we go.
For some reason, I can't remove that comment, finger of fudge. That's going to stay on and confuse people for the rest of the show. There, it's gone.
It's gone. It's gone from my end. Anyway.
It's gone.
Is there any Malaysian equivalents of fudge? I love fudge per se, not Cadbury's finger fudge, but the old school fudge you used to get
Yeah.
Scottish fudge,
We got
Scottish
that.
tablet. I love
Scotland,
that.
yeah, tablet and all that.
Is there like a Malaysian or Australian equivalent?
I mean,
No.
I guess you can
And
get
on that
fudge
note,
somewhere. I mean, at
on
our
that
age, I don't think we should be wolfing down too much fudge. You know, how many
Here,
steps
boys,
does that equate to? Quite a lot.
boys, I'm just to let you know for the crack. I'm having a consultation with the doctor on Tuesday about getting those injections, the weight loss
Those,
injections.
The
are you
Ozempic.
right now?
Oh yeah, I
Is it
managed to
Ozempic
get
or
myself.
something similar?
I managed to get myself up to the the Homer Simpson sort of BMI, so I'm now eligible.
Oh, that's
There we go.
interesting. Well, keep us informed how that goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Be fun to track that. All right, so everyone in the chat, thank you very much indeed for all of your entertaining chit chat. They're still going on about fingers of fudge and that bald Jambo. All right, so fare thee well, everyone. We shall see you after the next game. My goodness, we're supposed to preview St Mirren. We haven't done that. Score predictions for St Mirren. Let's do that quickly. We're going to walk it with the B team
I
again.
think 5-0. 5-0. We're sitting at 111 goals, and Brendan will want to eclipse that.
111, fantastic.
I think we'll see a bit more of a mix of first team players and sort of second string. It's pretty much full second string except for Cal on last night. I think we'll see a few more of the cup final team start. It'll be a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Just maybe AJ get a start, come off after half time or whatever. But yeah, I think we swatted the Dons aside. I can't see St Mirren putting up much of a fight at this point in the season.
They're on the beach.
Yeah. So yeah, I could be 4 or 5. I think it'd be one of them. Like, could be one of those flag days where we sort of run riot. There's been a few of them down the years. Although we did not last season or the season before we played St Mirren. It was a tight game, and I think we won 3-2 late on. Was it?
That's right. They scored twice. I think they're early enough, and then we come back and won 3-2. See the cup final. I think we're going to win 5-0. I mean that. I really do. I think we're different gravy than Aberdeen. I know we're not previewing it yet, but I really do think the team's motivated. You know,
certainly nothing to fear after that game.
No way.
Well, they've the other lot scalped him, and then we've scalped him with the second string. Like I say, I agree with you, but I can't really see how, unless we have a terrible, terrible day, or refereeing decisions make a pretty big difference, like a sending off early or something. Even then, you'd expect us to win the game. They're pretty poor.
All right, lads, let's leave it there. We'll see you on Monday to catch up on what has happened and to look forward properly to the cup final, the one big game that remains. So, as again, I'd like to thank everyone in the chat for all of their contributions, as always, and thanks to Paul and Brian. See you in the next one. Cheery bye.
Hail,
See you
hail.
guys.